Okay.
Wonderful. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur wrote the 8 prayers to the Guru, but I was wondering if Krishnamurti and Damodar Smarna, if you had any ideas of what would be a better invocation to sing. Just kind of like how we used to sing one verse of the Shad Goswami Asakam for Nectar of Devotion. What do you think would be a good song to recite before reading this every time?
Is the Madhurya Kadambini Rupa Goswami?
It's Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think anything that pays homage to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which he wrote the Guru Vashtakam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So how about we just do the first verse of the Sri Guru Vastakam? The Madhurya Kadambini is very much like a raining of mercy, and the first verse describes it. What do y'all think? Okay.
You know me, guys. Oh yeah, Korma.
Okay, Korma. All right.
Can you send the?
Yeah.
I can read too.
Samsara Dava Nala Lita. So we're think just the first verse. Prabhupada would sing just the second verse of the Shad Goswami Astakam. So I sent just the first verse of the Sri Guru Vastakam. Okay. Should I lead?
Please.
Samsaradava nalalita loka tranaya karunya gana ganatvam.
Sorry. You have Donna, you have to unmute yourself. I can't be the only one.
Tranaya karunya gana ganatvam.
Samsaradava nalalita loka tranaya karunya gana ganatvam.
Samsaradava nalalita loka tranaya karunya gana ganatvam.
Praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya vande guru Shri Charanarvindam.
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 Sandra, would you like to read the translation?
Yes. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisances into the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities.
Wonderful. So this book was suggested in our last meeting with Molly, Sandra, Julian, Yatra, and I. I heard that before beginning any kind of activity, it's good to establish a sankalpa or a reason or intention for doing something. So I'd like to begin and then open it up so we can all mention something. Last year, this book was mentioned to me twice by my guru and by a devotee that I was looking up to as a mentor when I was talking about difficulties that I was having in spiritual life. I'm feeling this way and I'm feeling that way. And I think that they noticed that there was a lot of lamentation and that I was feeling so bad about how I was doing in spiritual life. And they both recommended this book. And after reading through it, I could understand why, which is that the book talks about the process from day one to like the perfection of really arriving at pure love. And it's supposed to help you see that we're not unique in the sense that like our difficulties are not specific to us. Our difficulties are shared with everyone. And so it's supposed to help us feel more comfortable that there's obstacles that are expected, and that and it reaffirms that the process of making it through is just by chanting. So my intention is to learn how to lament properly, to not lament unnecessarily like my difficulties in spiritual life too much, but to always feel encouraged that there is a step forward. Popcorn.
Salvador.
I love all of that, Dhanaraj. And I think for me, with Madhurya Kadambini, I want to be able to continue to identify with like laser precision where I'm at in my devotional career. And from there, I want to be able to call upon this book and be able to remember it and imbibe it so that I can know what's the next step. So I can continue to always like be proactive I think that's what this book is so great about, is it allows you to be proactive in your blossoming of your devotional creeper instead of just letting it just happen laissez-faire. So I just want to be able to take a proactive approach to the continuing and strengthening of my bhakti, identifying any opportunities or gaps, and then also be able to use this to help other people too that might be going through similar sort of struggles or wins as well.
I love that for you.
Joy.
Shalanyatra?
I'm just excited to be reading another book and hoping that it'll provide me some insight into the difficulties that I'm going through. And yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Wonderful.
Dad. Is he sleeping? Krishmar. Oh, like poking water to be real.
Perhaps he's in a place where he can't do audio. So he said, like Pinocchio wanted to be a real boy, I want to be a real devotee, and I'm ready for the journey. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yes. For me, I love that you were sharing that it does give a greater context to the journey. I feel like because I'm so new and because everyone is that I had surrounded myself with, just you guys are so advanced that just by being in proximity of you, it doesn't like I don't like I get a taste of like what it can be to like run with you guys. But and that's why I love being in your association, but I have to be really honest about like where I am in the process. So I love to see that we can still be reading together and it's like helping you guys in what your process, but it's also like showing me what the process even is. So yes, all the things.
Marvelous. With that, would you like to start us off?
Sure. Okay. How much time do we have, Dominic? Can we just at least one page?
You got it.
Okay. Okay. White sirs, gentlemen, ladies, one moment while I pull this up. Okay. All right, chapter 1. The first shower. Correct?
Yes.
Oh, do you guys want to read the Sanskrit and I'll read? Or is it okay that I just
Dad, Damodar Smarna?
If you wanted to skip the Sanskrit, that's fine. Or do we want to imbibe the Sanskrit?
I'll read it.
Go for it.
Kridvapre navabhakti shasya vitate sanjivani swagama rambe kama tapartudaha damani vishpa pagalosani duranme maru shakino pi sarasi bhavaya bhuyat prabhu Sri Chaitanya Kripa Nirankusha Mahamadurya Kadambini.
May the uncontrollable, extremely sweet bank of clouds of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, which bestows rapture to all the rivers of the universe, brings life to the grains of devotional service newly planted in the field of the heart, and by its auspicious approach extinguishes the intense summer heat of lust from far off, gives satisfaction to this worthless soul, a dried up branch in the desert.
I think moving on, we can just like read the verses. But one thing that this made me think of is there's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that it said that by the combined mercy of the Guru and Krishna, the seed of devotional service is planted to the heart. So when I see brings life to the grains of devotional service, I think of this happening. That whatever was planted in the heart is given water and something to grow off of because of Mahaprabhu.
Though there are others who in the past had attained bhakti with rasas, I pay my continual obeisances to the Srila Rupa Goswami, who is dearest to the Lord. By his mercy, humanity has received the intelligence to see rasa. The Lord is rasa, the Shruti Tatitriya Upanishad. After explaining the different coverings of consciousness, Anamaya, etc., concludes with Brahma Ucham Prasita. Brahman is established as the base. This statement would seem to establish Brahman, the shelter of everything, as superior to the Anandamaya Purusha. But then the same scripture says raso vayasha rasam hai evayam labhavandi bhavati. The Lord is rasa itself. Attaining the rasa, the jiva becomes blissful. This statement indicates that Krishna is superior to Brahman. Popcorn.
To who?
Krishna Marai. Are you able to read? I think he's falling asleep probably. Okay, go ahead. Damodar.
All right, and then just double checking. So I'm on here. So what page are we on? I
The
first
second
clicked on
page.
Narayan Maharaj's, but then I was like, oh, we're not on Narayan Maharaj's. So, I'm on the correct one now. So what's the page?
The second page, I was just gonna popcorn it. It's on the halfway of the second page.
Let's see where it says in the same vein.
Yeah.
In the same vein, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the cream of Vedanta, and emperor amongst all types of evidence describe Krishna as the embodiment of rasa or pleasure. Quote, the various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt, the men of Mathura the best of males, the women as Cupid in person, the cowherd men as their relative, the impious rulers as a chastiser, his parents as their child, the king of the Bhojas as death, the unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form, the yogis as the absolute truth, and the Vrishnis as their supreme worshipable. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna affirms his identity. Quote, I am the basis of Brahman. How could anyone fail to recognize Krishna, the son of the king of Vraja, who has an unlimited body endowed with Shuddha Sattva, names, forms, qualities, and pastimes? This blissful Lord descends to human perception of the ear, eye, mind, and intellect, not by any material cause, but simply by his own independent will, just as, by his own will, he appeared in the material world as Krishna in the Yadu dynasty and Rama in the Raghu dynasty. Popcorn Dhanaraj.
Is everything, Sandra, do you have any questions so far?
No, I was actually just journaling about Rama this morning, about how he is, oh, hold on, let me pull it up real quick. It's like the basis of all creation, of the total experience of reality. It transcends the existence and non-existence duality. That's correct. Okay. Yeah, I was just writing about this. And so, okay, I'm able to understand at least that part. It is just important to knowing that like there is a time and space that's beyond, right, our perceptions of boundaries and constraints. So I'm able to see that this is the basis on why it's important for us to start here. Okay. I'm grappling.
Excellent.
Mm.
Similarly, just as the Lord is not dependent on any material cause for his appearance, so his non-different energy, bhakti, in keeping with its self-manifesting nature, is not dependent on any material cause. Thus, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, the supreme dharma for all human beings, sadhana bhakti, is that by which prema bhakti to the Lord arises, which is not caused by anything other than itself, cannot be obstructed, and which satisfies the mind completely. Similarly, in such statements as Yadrichaya Mad Katado, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.8, and Mad Bhaktim Yadrichaya, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.20.11, and Yadrichaya Yaivo Pachita, the word Yadrichaya must be understood to mean by his own independent sweet will, because the dictionary meaning of Yadricha is complete independence. Some people take the word to mean by luck or chance, but that meaning is not suitable here. For then one would be forced to inquire as to the origin of that good luck. Is it caused by material pious activities or something else? If one assumes that this good luck is generated from pious activities, then bhakti is likewise ultimately generated from pious activities, i.e., bhakti is dependent upon material good works. But this is in contradiction with the scripturally attested independent self-manifesting nature of bhakti. If one argues that this luck is not due to any pious activity being indescribable by words and unknowable to the intellect, then it would be insubstantial and could not be accepted as a cause. If one proposes that the cause of bhakti is the Lord's mercy, one must then find a reason for the mercy. Thus, this statement, giving rise to further need for explanation, is inconclusive in itself. If one therefore responds that the cause is the Lord's absolute, unqualified, or causeless mercy, then the Lord seems to show favoritism in bestowing it, since the unqualified mercy does not fall upon everyone equally. The Lord is indeed partial to his devotee, but the partiality that the Lord shows in protecting his devotees from the persecution of evil elements does not bring fault to the Lord's character, but rather becomes an ornament which enhances his character, since this affectionate obligation to his devotees, like a powerful king, subjugates all contradictory factors. This will be discussed in the 8th chapter. So I'd like to
All
go
right, guys.
backward.
All right, I have to hop off, but I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Love you too. Take care. Hari Hari.
Thank you. Haribol.
Hi, Bolt.
I think it'd be good to survey, because a lot was just said here in these two parts. It's good to remember what the main categories are. The first is that the Lord is rasa, and then the second is bhakti is independent. So all we've really talked about is those two things. So do you remember what rasa means?
Rasa's pastime, correct?
Rasa is like a taste
Taste. Oh, so sorry. Yes.
or like a flavor. That's all right. Yeah, it's like the you get a rasa when you do something. When you perform a job, there's like a rasa. It's like, oh, I feel good. It's like I feel proud. Or when you like lift a baby in your arms and like protect it, there's a rasa. That's the parenthood you're protecting. And then there's a rasa between friends. It's like, so Prabhupada says we do everything because of rasa. Like all that we're doing is because we want that kind of exchange.
Yeah, I feel like another way to interpret or to translate that would be like everything's a sensation, like everything has a sensory experience, right? And so we have a quality of sensations.
Yeah. Yeah. So in this first sentence, it says that there's different coverings of consciousness, anamaya, etc. So without going into it too much, so you can look at it as there's 5 different coverings or expressions of sensation. Anamaya means the sensation of like literal taste of food.
Mhm.
What does the world taste like? What does sugar and salt taste like? And then the layer below that is like pranamaya, which is like the taste of just being alive. Like, what does it feel like to take a deep breath, to feel calm, to feel peaceful? And then there's like the sensation. Yeah. Yeah, that is safe to say.
Wait, I didn't see. Safe to say the flavor. Sorry, me. Okay.
Krishnamar asks, yeah, is it safe to say it's the flavor driving the pastime? We see that Rasa Leela is like the crowning jewel of all of Krishna's pastimes because it includes the flavor of everything. It's like the main driving unification of like all being. So prana is like taste, or just like feeling breath, feeling peaceful, alive. And then there's jnanamaya, which is like it's the sensation of having knowledge, like how good it feels to learn something. Like now I know how to close a deal. Now I know how to like present myself in a job. I know what this company wants and I know how to present myself in such a way to appeal to that company. Or I know how to cook a meal. There's like a taste of like, I know this, I feel comfortable. And then beyond that, there's what's called the Vijnanamaya, which is like I'm living in integrity with what do I know. Not only do I know things, but like there's a harmony in my life that I'm living in accordance with what I know, and that feels so like harmonious. And the deepest one is mentioned over here, Anandamaya. Here it says this statement seems to establish that Brahman, the shelter of everything, is superior to Anandamaya. Anandamaya is like the actual spiritual body, and Ananda just means bliss. So it means that like at the very root of all our existence, there's just like a deep bliss of existing. And it expresses itself through the taste of food, through the taste of breathing and just being alive, through the taste of knowledge, through harmony. But at the root of it is actually, it's just like those are little droplets that explain like the bliss of interacting with Krishna.
Yeah, and I think what gets a little taboo to talk about, but this is really also like our arousal, like our desire, like that creative impulse of bliss is just that we have that desire, and it's just being able to hold what that sensation is. And when we're in its pureness, it's bliss. It's in our relationship with Krishna. Um, and so yeah, and that's what's interesting to like when you talk about sensations and the quality of our consciousness and how it gets tricky to make the discernment, like you said, of integrity, because if we're gonna get so if we're understanding what things feel like, what the sensations are, um, what's the difference between like a trigger and like
An impetus.
yes, right? And then and I feel like it's like clearing what those triggers are and what define impetus, because I didn't know what the contrast was to trigger.
What I understood trigger to mean is an external motivation or some like material reason to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you meant by it?
No, actually, I meant to buy it like if like let's say being seen, okay? So say I'm here and I'm in an interview, and that experience is not, it doesn't feel good inside because of past experiences. But
Mhm.
if you look at the setting of everything, it's very normal. It's not there's no harm, there's nothing about that experience is negative, but because of conditioning, that
Uh-huh.
experience is now no longer like a taste of flavor of like, this is the process to get what you're, what's necessary for the next things to be created or for the creative process to continue. But so yeah, it's like, what's the difference between like, it's like the trigger is different from just doing and being able to do something from like a place of like being in harmony with the creative process.
Yeah, I mean, to address the first part of what you said, have you started to read, you started to read Bhagavatam, right?
Yes. I'm on the 8th chapter right now though.
Nice. So you might be interested in reviewing just the first verse again, because like the first verse in the first canto, it talks about that like Adi Ras is like the original impulse for sex, like comes from Radha and Krishna, but that like our misunderstanding of how to use it is turning into like all of our misappropriation of that energy. And that like the whole purpose, it's taboo in some spiritual cultures, but what's cool about Krishna consciousness is that there's like a room to talk about that, and there's a way to see how like that can be purified. It's not a question of like repression or not mentioning it. It's a question of like understanding that energy's original source and applying it back. And that's, Urmila has a really nice talk about that. And then the second thing is I'd say that like from what if I understood your question right, it's how can we be sure, or how can we learn to discern if we're acting based on a material conditioning or if we're acting based on like a spiritual impulse.
Mhm.
So that happens through that. At first that happens through the orientation of like the scriptures. Like we hear about what Krishna wants from scripture, and he gives us like a general idea of what he wants, and then we see like through the orientation of what other devotees have done, we see like specific ways that they like interpreted or acted on what Krishna wanted. And then we get like the most specific orientation from our spiritual guides and teachers. So like Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu are like helping us discern that. But eventually we do want to get to the point that we use our own intelligence to discern for ourselves, like what is my specific dynamic contribution? And for that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave 6 aspects of surrender. The first 2 being accepting everything that's favorable for Krishna consciousness and then rejecting what's unfavorable. So we have that like awesome responsibility of like getting to discern that. Is this good for my spiritual life? So then you get to think on your own, like given what I know about Krishna, is this good for my relationship with him? Or is this not good for my relationship with him?
And then that goes back to taste and like having our own like discernment of the sensations that we have on our own in relation to.
Yeah. Yeah, from what I heard about that is that it's important, and that's why it's so important to know who Chaitanya is in particular in the very beginning, because like at this stage we're so conditioned with our material designations that it's not likely that we'll know what a spiritual taste is yet. We're still tasting everything through our material senses. But if we know who Chaitanya is and what he's here on earth to do, then we can kind of triangulate our taste more on the intellectual level in the beginning before we can really get to like the emotional, spontaneous place of like really tasting something. So in the beginning, we just know that he came down to give every single person, regardless of like gender, caste, neurotypical or neurodivergent status, like the opportunity to develop pure love. So then we can try, well, is what I'm doing helping that mission of getting everyone to hear who Krishna is, learning about how much he cares about them, and learning about what their relationship is with him. Then after doing that and like being situated in a conditioned body that's trying to act on behalf of a spiritual body, then Chaitanya like introduces you to Radha and Krishna, and then you begin to have like more spiritual and personal experiences about like spiritual taste. Okay, and then the second thing that they said is that bhakti is independent, which is in the same way that the Anandamaya Kosh, like all these different levels of consciousness manifest because of Krishna. Similarly, just like Krishna appears on his own, bhakti being non-different than Krishna also appears on its own. And so it's just explaining that. Okay. Popcorn, Sandra.
Okay. The mercy, correct? That's where we're at. The mercy of the Lord and his devotee. In proposing the unqualified mercy of the devotee as the cause of devotion, one should not see a fault in the devotee's partiality in distributing mercy. If one considers the nature of the Madhyama Bhakta, one finds that he exhibits partiality in his distribution of mercy. Prema Martri Kriposeka Ya Kartoti Sa Madhyaha Yamha. He exhibits devotion towards the Lord, friendship to the devotees, mercy to the innocent, and disregard for those who hostile to bhakti. Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text 46. In this case, the Lord becomes subservient to his devotee, bestowing his mercy in accordance with the devotee's mercy. But there is no irregularity in this arrangement, because the reason that mercy appeared in the devotee is because bhakti is in his heart. Without having bhakti, there is no possibility of the devotee manifesting mercy to others. The mercy is thus the self-manifesting independent nature of bhakti. Therefore, in the statement, Ya Ken Api, I'm going to skip, sorry guys. Okay, in the statement, the person who has attained faith in the service of the Lord by extreme good fortune. The word Atibhakanya, extremely good fortune, should be understood to mean the attainment of the mercy of the devotee, which surpasses the results of material pious activities. But one should not conclude that since the devotee is dependent on the will of Lord, the devotee cannot initiate the bestowal of mercy. Since the Lord willingly becomes subservient to his devotee and gives premise or preeminence to the devotee's position by granting him the power to bestow the Lord's mercy. Though as Paramatma, he simply oversees the affairs of the jiva's external senses, which are the reward of his past activities. The Lord personally shows special mercy to his devotees by giving them his own independent power to bestow mercy to others. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, only by his bestowal of mercy can one attain his eternal spiritual realm. The mercy is manifested in the Lord's bestowal of his own Kripa Shakti to his devotee, who then gives it to the fallen souls as previously explained. And I think that's all I have.
Okay. Maybe this is a good place to stop.
Okay.
May I review something?
Yes, please.
So bhakti is independent. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur is just trying to establish an argument. He's like really logical. So he's he's going to say something later. And what he's doing now is he's basically just preparing the ground for what he's going to say. There's something that I know that I want to say later, but I don't know if you're going to believe me or like take me seriously until I explain all this stuff. So let me do this first.
Okay.
He's just being really logical.
Okay.
So what he's saying is that bhakti is independent. So then the first question somebody might ask is, well, why do some people have it and not others? Do some people have bhakti because they're just better? Do some people have bhakti because Krishna chose them? And if he did choose them, why didn't he choose other people? So then he's basically explaining here that it's not that like, he's saying that it's not gotten from somewhere externally. Everyone has the potential to develop bhakti. So you shouldn't feel bad if it hasn't manifested yet. It's a question of like when. It's not a question of can you or won't you. It's just a question of when. And then he's also saying that the devotee is also part of like the agency by which that bhakti becomes manifest. So sometimes it can seem partial because like the devotee hasn't like gotten to everyone yet. You know, like we're experiencing time right now. So we experience past, present, and future. So like we just haven't had the experience of like the whole world flooding with love for everyone yet. We're experiencing like one person talks to one, talks to another. And so we're just seeing it that way. But that we shouldn't say that it's like a fault of bhakti that some people are favored and some aren't. And then he's also saying that if one says that bhakti is because of the Lord's mercy, you have to find, well, what is the reason why the Lord gives mercy? So it's like he's avoiding all of that. It's not because of mercy. It's just bhakti is an independently occurring or manifesting situation, just like Krishna. But what he'll explain later is that there are conditions by which like bhakti can be cultivated intentionally. So that's all he's saying. And I guess next week he'll talk about, is bhakti caused by karma? Is it caused by knowledge? Is it caused by your faith? And he's just going to explain all of these things that like, just so that later he can explain that when you do find difficulty in developing your devotional service, you will have already passed the part of the book that explains it's not because of your activity. It's not because of your faith. It's not because of any of these external reasons. It's cultivated by something internal. So basically what he's trying to do is he's trying to empower you to realize that like, it's not anything outside. It's going to come from like your own relationship with Krishna from the inside. And he just wants to make that really clear from the very beginning.
When I read this, I don't have any, like I hear you like it's building a case, but I don't listen to it that way.
You
Like
don't want it?
I don't listen to it in that way.
Okay, how are you listening to it?
I'm listening to it as just like I like how it's context. It's just like this is how this is truth. And so that's how I'm listening to it. I'm like, okay, yeah. And I think there's this part of me that can resonate with this like independence now in a really nice way, at least for myself, because I've always had this I guess my feminine, like it feels like from a feminine aspect of me, but it was really contradictory because it felt externally expressed as a masculine way. But there's this feeling of just like this independence of like my heart can like be free independently from all of these other definitions or roles or identities that society and relationships want to like put me in. And I'd always want to rebel against whatever identity or role you want to put me in. I would be like, I don't want that, or And so I just I love to like, I just feel so gratifying to just see it's like just the nature of reality. It's that bhakti is independent. just feels really nice to just hear.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, good. I mean, when I read this, I think about all the terms that are like maybe a little more technical that aren't mentioned a lot. So like my first thing is like how can I make the road smoother by like
Mhm.
defining those terms, but it might be like complicating it like preemptively in a way that it like doesn't feel like it's complicated at this point.
Mhm.
All right, wonderful. So maybe for the next reading, I can just like wait to see if there's any like clarifications before explaining too much. But yeah, that is a nice thing to take away, that it's like it is independent, it's free, and it feels like really sublime, right? Like Krishna is giving us an opportunity to practice real love. He's doing it through the agency of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it's totally free.
Mhm.
Yeah, rad.
Sweet.
Okay,
Okay. We did it.
we did it. Day one.
Day one. Okay. I will definitely get my copy by next reading.
Okie dokie. All right, and
Do we want to end the recording?
yeah.
And let me